Okay, so this is going to be very informational. I do have some jokes, so hopefully that'll keep everybody awake, and then we'll go to break. So I'm going to buzz through a couple of the early slides since we're running out of time. And so this is Horizon Behind the Curtain. So this is just kind of a, what is Horizon? What is it connected to? When you're using Horizon, what's actually happening type thing. When Horizon's really slow, why is that? So I might be able to answer some of it. Okay, so what is Horizon? It's an application, right? You guys have lots of apps on your mobile devices, whatever. Horizon is basically just an application. It is also the name of the database, and it's the client. So it shares kind of, it's multiple things, right? It's an application, it's your client, right? And then it's also the name of the database, which I'll show you in a minute. But as far as the client goes, it's client because think of like a client server, right? You're at a restaurant, you're the client, and your server goes and gets stuff. That's what Horizon's doing. There is a ton of information that you are not seeing in Horizon. But when you do a search, when you send something to the MARC editor, when you send it to the copy item list, Horizon is sending out a little signal out to the database and pulling the information it needs at that moment. So that's sometimes why it takes a little bit longer for things to appear, because if it's pulling back a ton of information, then it has to query all that from the database and pull it into a nice pretty little view for you to see. So think of it as you're the client, you go in there and you hit F2 and you search for something, something gets sent out to the database and is brought back. It happens usually pretty quickly, but that's also why you need to have that constant Citrix connection to the database, is because it's always pulling things so that you can see that nice little gray view that you're seeing with all the information you have on there. All right, so it is a relational database as opposed to Symphony. Boo, Symphony is a flat file. So it's really not that bad. I just like, you know, it's Horizon versus Symphony, right? At Kosugi, there's always like, anyway. So it's a relational database as opposed to Symphony, which is a flat file database. So a relational database, this is the little Wikipedia definition, right? Basically, you just, I like to think of, and this is probably not the most computer science accurate, that a flat file is like Excel, right? You just have a whole bunch of data and it's right there. And if you want something, you got to know which row and which column, and you're pulling a whole bunch of information, and you can't really edit it so easily without editing everything or finding everything. You're kind of just inundated with like, here's a big file of data. With a relational database, you're given these distinct tables. This table is the bib table. This table is the item table, and they're connected, right? Through numbers, through keys is what it's called. And they have relationships to each other. So the data in Horizon is organized into these tables that are relationships. So here's an example. You have the item table, right? Guess what's in the item table? All that item information you see, right? When you pull up an item information and you see location and you see the last status update date, the last inventory date, that is all pulling straight from the item table. And then you have a bib table, right? I'm going to show you a picture of what the bib table looks like in a minute here. Then you have a title table. Well, then Horizon says, you know, to make this work a lot faster, instead of pulling all the item information from here and the title information from here, let's make a view, so it's like a fake table, it's kind of how I think of them, that combines all that information. So you're almost skipping a step, right? You're not going straight to here, you're going to this other place that has sort of the built-in stuff to make things process quicker. So that's a view. So, and each table has a key. You guys know some of these keys. Bib number, you search by bib number all the time. You will never see a bib number repeated because it is a unique key. There will always only be one bib that is number 1. You will never reuse the number 1 in the database. Just like borrower number, item number is not one you guys search by, but location code is actually a very important key in the database too. That's why you can't change your location codes if you ever asked us. You can't change it. And borrower number, right? Not the borrow barcode is actually a key as well, but the borrower number is the primary key. If you go into your record, like I'm 37157, something like that. It's a number at the top of your borrower record. So borrower barcode and item barcode are also keys. That's why, have you ever tried to reuse a barcode or use one more than twice, like put in a duplicate barcode? It'll tell you you can't do that. It's because it's a unique key. It has to be unique. So this is actually what the database looks like. So when I come into work in the morning, this is usually where I go, first thing. So you can see I'm on the server, and you can see that these are the databases, and you can see Horizon right there, right? And then there's tables, and there's views, and there's all sorts of other information that I don't click on unless I have to, because I might break something. And then right above Horizon, for those of you who use the community resource database, you can see that that database is sitting right there on that same server. So if I click on tables, watch what's going to happen. You can see here's all these tables over here. And see, I'm just in the A's. So it keeps going. It goes forever and ever. There's thousands of tables in here. And then what I've done here is I've kind of given you an idea of what the bib database, this is the bib table. I've just selected the first 100, I think, from the bib table. You can see here is bib number 1, which all of the staff here know. Bib number 1 is TA for TOTS. Because when there's a problem with MinLink, that's all we get is TA for TOTS. So, so you can see here's the title, and then you'll have over here the 245. So that's how data on the bib record is stored, and then what Horizon is doing is it's going and it's pulling the exact information that you need when you do searches. So this is just another example. Here is TA for TOTS, right? So when you send this to the MARC editor, you're pulling all that coded information on the previous screen into Horizon so it looks a little prettier for you to manage. And then this over here is your bib control, and that's a whole different table. That isn't even the bib table. That's called the bib control table. So that's just to give you an idea of how things are look and linked together. I'm going to skip past this, but basically what you need to know is there's a lot of linking and it saves processing power on the database. So I've given you a picture of a view. This is my borrower record, and I've highlighted stuff out since this is going to be on the internet. I don't want everyone knowing where I live. You guys can all search in Horizon and figure out what my phone number is if you want, but don't call me because I won't answer. So you can see this is actually a couple views thrown together so that this window is more functional for you. So this is the borrower record, right here, the borrower view actually, and then this section is the address. So this is another table. And then this is the BStat. So there's my BStat table up here. So what it's doing is combining multiple things. And why do you care about that? Because it makes it super flexible for you. We can change that. We can make everything look different. Now, I don't have the time to do that, so it's probably not going to happen. I'm not going to redesign Horizon in a weekend or anything. But you could. If you go and look at other libraries' Horizons, they look very different from ours because we've made ours look the way we want it to look. We can sort of segment out the database so that you're only seeing certain parts. Think of your notices for review, right? You only see your notices. You're not seeing somebody else's notices. That's because we've segmented it out, so you only see that. And believe it or not, your pull list is also segmented out. So it would work even slower if you were seeing everybody's, right? You're just seeing your stuff. It's all segmented out. So the database, the Horizon database, is connected to a lot of other stuff, and it makes it, because it's a SQL database, it's a relational database, it's very flexible, has a lot of power, makes it so that you guys can customize a lot of things, within reason, within staff hours. But it is connecting to the Horizon database, is connecting on that server, it's connecting to all these different servers. And so if you ever wonder what Gina does, right, she maintains all these servers. I only get on these when I have to. But there's like 10 Citrix servers. So she's maintaining all these servers and a whole bunch of other ones that I have nothing to do with. One of the main servers I mentioned before, we have HIP still running, right? HIP is sitting on, we call it the IPAC server. And there's other things sitting on that server too, like MinLink searches Horizon via this server. Enterprise, everything from Enterprise, all the searching, all the requesting from Enterprise, all the requesting from Horizon is going through this server still. Some web services, a lot of the web services right now, including any item level information in Enterprise, like your availability, your collection code, all that stuff that shows up in the detail display is all going through IPAC to get to Horizon and then back again. And then we have 17, soon to be 18, I think, SIP connections on that server. We have a test server, so this is how I don't blow things up all the time. I go to the test database, which is a backup of Horizon from, right now I think it's from February. But I can reload it when I need to. And there's a testing, and then if you go to training here at SELCO, you're pulling from the training database. And that connects to SQL. That's where Pharos runs. So Pharos connects to Horizon from this server. Day end is on that server, and then I have a whole bunch of reports and other emails that go out that are on that server. Let's see. So one other thing I wanted to point out is when you place requests or pretty much anything in Enterprise, you want to keep in mind that we don't have an Enterprise server. When we moved from Aqua Browser to Enterprise, we lost our online catalog. I mean, I shouldn't say lost. It was actually one of the things we wanted to do. So now Enterprise is hosted by Cersei Dynix. And so it does connect to Horizon, right? We do every Saturday morning, I think it is, we do a weekly upload, and then every hourly, any changes that are made get sent to Enterprise. But then it connects to IPAC for the item and the requesting and the My Account information, and then IPAC connects back to Horizon. So I've got a little, this is the life of a request, right? So when you place a request, so you make a search, and all the lines are supposed to be the internet, right? So you place you're doing a search at home. I'm doing a search in my bedroom, and I search the catalog. I have little Utah here because that's where Cersei Dynix is based out of, right? Levi, Utah. Now, our server probably actually isn't in Utah. It's probably somewhere in Canada or something where it's cheap. I don't know. Georgia. Donovan says it's actually in Georgia. Okay, so your search goes to Georgia, but we'll just pretend it's going to Utah. And then it comes back, your search results come back to Minnesota, right? And I gave it a heart because we all love Minnesota. And then, but your research is also talking to our IPAC server here in Minnesota. And it communicates with Horizon. And then all that information has to come back so that your search results display on your screen. So when things are slow, it could be because something's wrong here. It could be something's wrong here. It could be something's wrong in Georgia. It could be, who knows? So there's just a lot of moving parts. So there's a lot of interconnection, which is great because it means we can do all sorts of stuff, but it also means there's a lot of points of failure. So here's I like Clint Eastwood, so not his politics, but I like him. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good, all this is very flexible. The bad, lots of points of failure. And then the ugly is, the ugly truth is we can't always pinpoint exactly what caused something. So be patient with us. We do try, but we can't always get the precise information. So this is just something I wrote up, mainly so that I had a reason to include this quote. So yes, Horizon is like baseball. So anyway, and because I love baseball, we will have one last baseball quote before we can break So Horizon is like my favorite baseball player, number 4 catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, Yadier Molina. James is shaking his head back there. So Horizon is like the catcher, right? It is in the middle of everything, which is great because it gives us a lot of flexibility, and we all know Horizon, we all love Horizon. But it also means if your Horizon has problems, like your catcher, then you're in trouble. So yeah, 7-time Golden Glove winner, consecutive. It's a big deal. So, okay, any questions? So if you ever want to know what to get me for Christmas, anything Cardinals related or Yadier Molina.